Who's on upset alert in week 9? Well, it kind of seems like the upsets have settled down a little bit. We saw so many big upsets early in the season, and now we're not getting quite as many. We're still seeing some upsets, but not those big upsets that we were getting earlier in the year. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that we didn't know a lot about these teams earlier in the year. Games that we thought were huge upsets now don't look like, maybe they weren't that big of an upset because we've learn more about these teams. We know who the teams are that were overrated and underrated going into the season. I think that's a big reason why, again, we're not seeing quite as many upsets. If you go back to last week, the only upset that happened from the 8 games that we gave you was USC Maryland. So we did have that one on the video. Maryland, crazy finish of that one. They come back and beat USC. But that was the only one. But again, if you look throughout the season, the average of two of the 8 games being upsets has definitely played out. We've had some weeks where it's been 3. I think we've had a couple of weeks where it's been 1, and most weeks it's been 2. So we'll see what it looks like this week. I'll tell you what, this week was tough because there are a ton of games that I could have picked from. I mean, there are a ton of games. I could have had 20 teams on upset alert because there are a lot of spreads that are, 6 points, 7 points, whatever. And again, if you're new to this, for it to be considered an upset, for a team to be on upset alert, the spread has to be 4 points or more. And again, there are a lot of those this week. There are not, the last few weeks we've had a ton of games where the spread's been like 1, 2, 3 points, but this week it's different. So maybe we do see a big upset this week, or a couple of big upsets. We shall see. Let's get into the games now. Again, I picked the 8 that I think are most likely to happen, and we're going to go from least likely to most likely here with these 8 games. So we'll start with Notre Dame. We're going to put Notre Dame on upset alert. This game's at noon Eastern time on ABC. Notre Dame favored by 12.5 points. Not a huge line there. And so I think a lot of this really has to do with Navy and how good they are. We don't know. I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. They haven't been tested against a great team. Now, they did beat Memphis, and that's a quality team. So we know that Navy's solid, but with their type of offense, it's really, I think, just about on that side of the ball, how well does Notre Dame prepare and how much are they ready for that unique offense that Navy is going to bring. And on the flip side, Navy's defense, it's just how good are they? Are they good enough to slow down Notre Dame? We'll see. In the trenches, you would think Notre Dame probably has an advantage. I think that's going to possibly be a problem for Navy. So I could see Navy winning a close game here, pulling off an upset, but I could also see Notre Dame winning big if they dominate in the trenches. So this is definitely one to keep an eye on. And again, I think you got to put Notre Dame on upset alert against an undefeated Navy team. Next, we got Texas, Vanderbilt. This one's at 4:15 Eastern time on the SEC Network. Texas favored by 18.5. Seems like a pretty big number to me. Vanderbilt upset Alabama. We know what Vanderbilt is capable of. We've also seen them look not so great at times. Last week they struggled a little bit with Ball State. They lost to, I think, Georgia State. So Vandy's been up and down, but the thing is, they're going to slow this game down, and if they can get 3-4 yards per play running the football, then they can hang around in this game. If Texas can shut down that run game, this game probably turns into a blowout. But it's interesting, the game is in Nashville. They upset Alabama there. Alabama had just come off of a big win against Georgia. Texas coming off of a tough loss to Georgia. So how does the Texas team respond? This is one I really don't know what to expect. It could be kind of like the Notre Dame situation. It could be Texas winning big, or it could be a close game where Vanderbilt pulls off the upset. But I would definitely keep an eye on this one as well. Put Texas on upset alert. Next, we got Missouri, Alabama. This one's at 3:30 Eastern time on ABC. Alabama favored by 14. So I think Alabama is the better team here, plus they're playing at home, but I think they were a better team than South Carolina, and they played that game at home and they almost lost. But the thing about this one is, where have we seen Alabama struggle this year, especially on defense, giving up big pass plays? And Tennessee missed on a ton of them, but Tennessee had them all game long. They had the deep shots. We saw Georgia light up the Alabama secondary several weeks ago. Missouri has got some playmakers on the outside. So if they can hit some of those deep shots, they can absolutely stay in this game and potentially pull off an upset. Can their defense slow down the rushing attack of Jalen Milroe? That'll be the story on that side of the ball. But yeah, I think you got to put Alabama on upset alert. I think they're the better team, but I really don't know. I really don't know. This Alabama team, how good are they? I don't know. It seems like, you look at ever since the I guess halftime of that Georgia game, this has not looked like a very good football team, and we'll find out. We'll find out about Alabama in this one. Next, we got Penn State at Wisconsin, 7:30 Eastern time on NBC. Penn State favored by 6.5. Wisconsin has been playing better football. They definitely have improved from where they were at the beginning of the season. The defense starting to play better. They got a good secondary. Penn State really hasn't been challenged, hasn't played, really any great team so far. We really don't know how good Penn State is. I think that they're a top 5 team, and they should be good enough to handle this road environment and win this game. But I think this is one to keep an eye on as well. Put Penn State on upset alert. Next, we got Rutgers, USC. This one's at 11 o'clock Eastern time on Fox. This will be a Friday night game, by the way. USC favored by 14. USC just keeps blowing leads. They've done it several times now. And so Rutgers has not looked as good as maybe we thought, but they're a physical team. And will they wear down USC in the second half like some of these other Big Ten teams have done? Perhaps. I don't know. This is a tough one to read, but I think USC definitely put them on upset alert as well. Next, we got Washington and Indiana, noon Eastern time on Big Ten Network. Indiana favored by 6.5. So this one is, you got Indiana coming off of a huge win over Nebraska. They blow them out. Again, that was a big game there. And I believe Indiana's getting game day for this one. I think I saw that. I really don't pay too much attention to game day anymore, at least once we get into the season. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure for Indiana now. Everyone's patting them on the back. They've got that big win. How do they respond to that? Teams that aren't used to winning, sometimes they don't respond too well to winning. So that's going to be something to watch there. Washington's a decent team. They did beat Michigan, so they're capable of pulling off this upset if Indiana does not bring their A game. But if we see the Indiana team we saw last week, this one shouldn't be close. So that's one to watch, though. Again, where is Indiana going to be at mentally in this game? Are they going to prepare? Are they going to focus? If they do, they should be fine. But these are college kids, and we see it all the time. So I think, again, that is one that could possibly be an upset as well. We got Texas Tech, TCU. This one's at 3:30 Eastern time on Fox. TCU favored by 6.5. This is one of those where, like, if this game was played last week, I think Texas Tech's probably favorable. We just saw them lose to Baylor. We saw TCU beat Utah. That did not really line up with what we had seen from these teams before that. And so, I don't know. I just don't know about these two teams. I don't know which team's the real Texas Tech team. We've seen them look good. We've seen them look bad. Same thing with TCU. So this one, I'm just surprised, honestly, that the spread's 6.5. I would have thought it would have been much lower. To me, this is a pick'em game. Could go either way. And then finally, Oklahoma State at Baylor. Really the same story here. This game's at 3:30 Eastern time. It's going to be on ESPN Plus, so no way to watch that unless you've got ESPN Plus. Baylor favored by 6.5, but if this game was last week, I think Oklahoma State's probably favored in this game. Baylor coming off of that big win over Texas Tech, but if you look at the rest of their season, they haven't looked great. Oklahoma State's lost a lot of close games. I don't think this Oklahoma State team is terrible, but they're not, of course, not as good as we thought they were going to be, but they've got a real shot in this game. Again, if I'm looking at the entire season and evaluating these two teams, I think Oklahoma State has been a little bit better, but they are playing on the road. And so, yeah, I think this is another game that could really go either way, but definitely potentially an upset here. Oklahoma State's definitely due for a win. Again, they've lost some tough ones. Had BYU last week and blew that one late. But those are the games that I think could be upsets this week. Again, the 8 teams that I would put on upset alert. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? There are tons of other games to pick from. Which upset do you see happening that's on the video, or maybe a game that's not on the video? Let me know down in the comments below.